It gives me great pleasure to invite our very eminent speakers for today, Mr. Achyut Watve, Mr. Umesh Joshi, partners of JW Consultants LLP, onto the stage, Mr. Prakash Deshmukh, partner of Associated Space Designers and the immediate past president of the Indian Institute of Architects, and Mr. Devashish Basu, our trustee. I request you all to give them a big hand. A unique coincidence today is that all our speakers are from Pune, and we are extremely grateful to them to make so much of time to travel all the way from Pune and come here and make a special trip to address us. I must also thank our friend Sunil Bajaj for all the guidance and for coordinating and helping us to find such eminent speakers to come and speak on this really important issue. Sunil is a big supporter of Moneylife Foundation. Today's event, of course, has happened because of the support of Tata Housing, and I would like to thank Robin for making that happen. I think all of you remember one morning when suddenly our buildings began to shake, and everybody in Bombay was making up their minds whether to run downstairs and whether it's time to vacate. Just then, those of us who are on Twitter began to get tweets to say that not to worry about Bombay, the problem is in Nepal, but I think all of Delhi was out on the streets. That's the day we began to get many calls from people saying, when is Moneylife finally going to do this seminar on safety issues? And it's not just earthquakes. All of us living in Bombay know we've had brave hearts from the fire brigade who have lost their lives because we don't know how to take care of fire. We don't know what to do with our buildings. We don't know how to look after our fire staircases because we use them as storage areas in the building. And from then onwards, this is how long it takes for us to do something that is different. We've been getting calls to say, please tell us what to do. Just as the fires and the earthquake were sort of cooling down and vanishing from our consciousness, we began to have these house collapses in Thane, and some really frightening numbers about the number of dilapidated buildings that there are. I think that is when, while this is not Moneylife's very core area, we realized that we need to understand this from people who have built some of the biggest buildings and townships in the country. And it gives us great pleasure to have such an eminent panel today to tell us. And I've been fortunate enough to have some interaction with them before they came here. And I can tell you today's session is going to be really eye-opening. So may I now request Devashish Basu to formally introduce our speakers. Thank you.
A very good afternoon, everybody. A warm welcome once again. I have the great pleasure and privilege to introduce our speakers for today's session. First, Mr. Achyut Watve and also Mr. Umesh Joshi. They are the designated partners of JW Consultants LLP, a very well-known name in structural consultancy, responsible for designing systems for residential, commercial, and industrial projects for a galaxy of names. Mr. Watve is a civil engineer from the University of Pune, and since '92 has been a partner of Y.S. Sane Associates, now of course known as JW Consultants LLP. Mr. Umesh Joshi, his partner, is also an engineer from the University of Pune and an M.Tech from IIT Powai. Mr. Watve and Mr. Joshi lead a team of over 80 engineers and have handled around more than 1,000 projects so far, roughly about 300 to 400 projects a year possibly. They have been involved in around 80 high-rise buildings so far in Mumbai, ranging from 20 to 60 stories, and many more are on the way. Mr. Prakash Deshmukh, our third speaker, is a partner of Associated Space Designers Private Limited. He has a vast experience in planning and execution of townships, commercial, residential, institutional, industrial buildings, software offices, and IT parks. He has been involved in national and international projects of repute in various industries such as textile, engineering, pharmaceutical, chemicals, and so on, and also hotels. He is the immediate past president of the Indian Institute of Architects. Mr. Deshmukh takes a keen interest in transferring practical knowledge to students, Vidya Dan, as was the custom in India at one time. He is a member of the Board of Studies and Faculty of Engineering of University of Pune. He's a guest faculty at the Indian Railway Institute of Civil Engineers and many architectural colleges under Pune University. Before we begin our session, I request each one of you to please switch off your mobile phones. May I now please invite Mr. Watve and Mr. Joshi to begin the session, please.
Good afternoon, everybody. Thanks, Devashish. Thanks, Mr. Dala. And thanks, Sunil Bajaj, to giving us this opportunity to interact with you and be a part of discussion with you. I'm specifically mentioning this is a discussion. It is not some presentation or something. We will be showing some slides mentioning something, but this is only to stimulate your questions, nothing special in that. So we will finish it as early as possible, so we'll get a good time to interact with you, and we will be more happy to know your question, because being from a technical side, it becomes very difficult. What are your questions? We try to gather it with our families and all the things, but still, unfortunately, they are also not civilized. They are civilized. They are more on technical side. So she is also not able to throw any light. So I want your questions more elaborate and thinking.
Good afternoon. As Mr. Watve mentioned, it is indeed our pleasure to be present here and addressing this gathering. Now, this could be one of the toughest lectures possibly or presentation I might have given in the last 30 years, because both of us are quite accustomed to talking to technical people where the technical flow is very easy for all of us. But the time has come that a person who is using a building, an apartment, ought to know that how safe is his building. And when Mrs. Dalal inquired with us, we were a bit hesitant in the sense that we are hardcore structural engineers. So to what extent we will be able to communicate what we have in mind. So we had requested that let's have more of an interaction. But to have a basis for interaction, we are doing a small presentation. So obviously, this should stimulate more questions. This should encourage people to partake active role in this discussion. So when we are looking at the buildings, the question is that there had been too many instances of problems with the building industry. The problems are obviously in the minds of citizens. They have a kind of a heightened anxiety that where I'm living, is my habitat safe? Am I going to be affected by the earthquake which might visit us at any point of time? And none of us know, even with all the scientific advances, that if and when that is going to visit, we don't have any guesswork on the time. On top of the earthquake, we have the man-made issues like flooding, landslides, because when we disturb the nature in terms of the hill slopes, then obviously we have issues like landslides. And I think Mumbai in last 35-40 years of development have seen enough deadly landslides which have taken valuable lives. Flooding, I am from Pune, so I'm essentially from Bombay, but from Pune now. So flooding, I need not elaborate, because all of us experience flooding possibly thrice or 4 times in a year. And not only that, we are inconvenienced, we are also kind of reducing the value of the buildings that we live in, because the water enters the buildings and water goes back, but it leaves its mark on the building, and that makes building slightly more aged. And we will slowly and quickly look at that, how many issues can affect our building.
Next, sir. This is one picture. I know we are specifically showing this particular slide not to make threat in anybody's mind or anything, but this is how it happens. Building looks absolutely all right, and one tremor can topple down the entire building into the rabbit, I can say. Next. I don't want to continue with this slide for more than a minute, so it's this thing. Further to that, if you see next after Nepal earthquake, as Dalal said, there is some collapse in Thane and some people are injured, some people are died and everything. And now what is the answer from our statutory body is simple, that after 30 years we have to make an audit. Now after 30 years we have to make an audit, but further to that, the corporation has already declared number of buildings as unsafe. And what corporation is saying, ki people are not vacating this particular building. They are sticking to the building, though it is not remain habitable. This is a major problem. It is not making habitable. And then redevelopment of those property, there are number of reasons, number of statutory reasons, legal reasons and everything. We cannot make it again redevelop that particular building. But this problem is there. But ultimately, who is a sufferer? Sufferer is who is residing at that particular building. So we have to think that is our life of the building is only 30 years? And why corporation is saying that I have to make an audit at every 30 years and then 3 years after that? No, I don't think so. My buildings are going to stand, or today what we are designing, or last 37 years we are designing the building, and it is going to exist only for 30 years and then it needs to be audited and everything. There are some other reasons which we will be coming in next slide.
Yeah. When one looks at that, what leads to unsafe buildings, it is basically man-made problem. It's an inferior construction. Now, as I said, that I don't want to create a gloomy picture about the construction. We get far better buildings, but equally we get some bad buildings also. And one bad building can give a bad name to the industry as a whole. What is happening, that the amount of construction, what is happening, we are not having collapses every alternate day. However, we also need to be aware that construction of this nature, now this is a kind of a technical issue, but I think a common man will be able to realize that the concrete has not really gone inside and the reinforcement is entirely exposed. So inferior construction plays an important role because you are starting with a weak foundation, you are starting with a weak building. The asset that you are creating is not correctly done, it is not correctly constructed.
Next important issue is basically anything which is collapsing, it will have a definitely telltale sign. You will get definitely signs that building is in a bad shape and we need to rectify. This is some photographs, and we are seeing these cracks in the column which is supporting above say 11 or 12 floors. But still people are parking the car, living inside happily and everything. So we have to be aware that regular maintenance of the building has to be done. This is one of the cause. We'll go into the details in some other slides.
There is something very criminal. This is a photograph of a new building which we are done with the concrete wall, what you say that aluminum shuttering. And on giving a position, people were given position to do interior fit outs. And the interior designer coolly cut out certain walls. If you see the reinforcement exposed, now this was pointed out. Mind you that on top of this wall, there are some 12 floors still standing. And when I received this photograph from one of the engineers at site, I was shocked. I came out of the meeting and said, for God's sake, evacuate the building and put the props under the building. But this is the way that we are doing. Let's not say that somebody else has done it. It's one of the members of the society who has done this in order to create the additional access from the kitchen to the storeroom. And what's the cost of it?
Next. Another issue is number of changes in the building, alteration, deletion of the column. If we say that column is going that, and suddenly because of something that column has vanished and again column has reappeared. This is another dangerous situation. And this is going to be leading the unsafe buildings. Next, our total disregard towards electrical loads, basically. When any builder gives you a flat position, You don't know what is the exactly connected load to you. As your prosperity goes, your appliances increases. With one room having AC unit, now you are having all the rooms AC unit, and then people say that I should have it in my living room also. Then TV size goes on increasing. All rooms is having a AC. All rooms are having a TV. Then all other appliances are being there. And what is the connected load to that particular flat, and how much load we are extracting, that we have to take care. And now what is happening? We are taking and connecting substantial amount of load, and that is going to have major problem. Number of fires. Recently, what had happened in Mumbai is because of electrical fault, and that is maybe because of overloading. That we have to have strict adherence that what is our electrical load connected to my flat and how much I am using.
What leads to unsafe buildings really? Now we are looking at the design aspects, as we are hardcore designers. So I would start with design aspects.
We're structural designers basically, who designs the foundation, then columns, then beams and slab for seismic requirement, then wind requirement, all these things. So what leads to that? Basically, yes, there is a Bureau of Indian Standard, and how to design a building. Yes, it has been enumerated in this particular codes, but fortunately, our speed is, unfortunately, our speed of revision of these codes are not that fast as ACI code, this American Constitution Institute code. But still, we are evolving Bureau of Indian Standard Code. So the way we are designing the buildings in 1980, and the way we are designing the building in 2000, and the way we are designing the building in 2015, our concepts, our logic, our design procedures, everything is changing.
Just to cite an example that all of us remember a deadly earthquake which visited Latur in 1993. Now, when we learnt in colleges, Latur is a part of peninsular India. And Indian Standard Code is divided into 4 or 5 zones. Mukul, can we have that slide of the zones? See, this is the typical seismic zone of the country, wherein Latur was till then considered as part of zone 1. That means the least seismic active area. And all of us were shocked to find that we had an earthquake of a magnitude of 6.3 Richter scale with hypocenter as high as only barely 8 kilometers below the earth, because that is another reason why it had devastating effects. And suddenly the codes changed it from zone 1 to zone 3. So when we say that the codes are evolving, we are lagging behind the advanced countries in terms of micro mapping, micro zoning, because they are doing a lot of research using remote sensing satellite. Now Government of India fortunately has undertaken that exercise for 10 metro cities where they will do the micro mapping, and our understanding of the earthquake will improve further. Now question really happens is that that means whatever we constructed, was it unsafe? Is it unsafe based on today's standards? If you really go by theory, that could be true, but there is no issue of getting alarmed, at least in places like Mumbai, Pune, because their zones had been right along zone 3. So there had been no changes in urban areas of the country. There had been some changes in the more official areas of the countries, but as far as the urban areas are concerned, the code has remained consistent over a period of last 50 years, let us put it. Because first reasonable code came into being in India in around 1964.
Here I would like to mention one thing. When we design buildings, we are designing earthquake resistant building. There is always misnomer that can my building be earthquake proof? No. We are designing the building for earthquake resistance. What do you mean by resistant? Yes, with certain amount of earthquake, you will not see any damage. Certain amount of earthquake, you will see some cracks in the building, which can be repaired and building can be rehabilitated. Again, a further bigger earthquake came, there will be cracks in the building, but it can be repaired, but with a major rectifications. next stage is very important. There will be crack, there will be collapse, but you will get a sufficient time to evacuate the building, which is more important. So by this way, people are asking whether my building is earthquake proof. We say no. Then everybody say that I am afraid you are not making it is a prone to earthquake. No, it's not prone to earthquake, but it is earthquake resistant. So you will get a major earthquake comes, you will get a sufficient time to evacuate. The building what we have shown in initial slide where the video was there, we have cut that particular thing. For 10 minutes, that particular Nepal, everything was shaking. People are getting the time to evacuate. Yes, there are times where people don't want to evacuate. That we have to educate the entire people. When there is this type of signs are there, we have to evacuate. So this is particularly thing, earthquake prone or earthquake resistance is important.
Yeah, the question is that seismic retrofitting. Now, in a country like Japan, which has all the wherewithals and resources financially, they have undertaken a massive program of retrofitting the buildings. Unfortunately, our country falls short in terms of financial resources, and that's why the agencies which are available today are meager in number. Honestly, many buildings need redevelopment, not retrofitting. But the buildings which have been constructed in 70s and 80s, we usually classify the buildings into two categories, that engineered buildings and non-engineered buildings. Because maybe many times the buildings which were constructed in 50s, 60s, 65, they were designed with the experience and the knowledge of the Mistris, and possibly even the architects used to design buildings. So they had gone on the basis of gravity load analysis. Those buildings obviously were not designed for seismicity. No, those buildings which are still in good shape, because it's not that all buildings are bad. The buildings constructed in 60, 65 are very much in good shape. But what is need of the day is they need to be retrofitted seismically. Those who can afford it, they should ideally take up this exercise, because you have enjoyed the buildings for the last 40, 50 years. The time has come to further reinvest into the building. The issue is that if that building is serving your purpose today, it will still continue to serve the purpose because the gravity loads, it is sufficiently strong. You need to seismically retrofit it. There are agencies, at least in metros, which you should look up very carefully to those agencies.
We have a number of challenges doing this also, because I don't think so we have any drawings or any documentation is available. But now the methods are available when we can make the documentation and everything and redesign, and we can go ahead with this. Now another major question. Being a structural consultant, everybody asks me, you are designing this particular building. If you have seen that particular ad, after doing everything, that the beautiful yacht, it was seen, an Indian guy goes there and kitna deti hai kilometer. Same thing, if people are constructing 70-story building, they say how much kg you can consume to construct this particular building. Basically, this is the tendency of some developers. I am not saying all the developers. There are a number of developers who are, don't think in this language. But there are a number of developers who thinks in this language. And then less kg, what will happen? And putting a more kg where we stand, our next slide will show. Because less kg will definitely increase his profit. But if you see, in any building, there are two things what we are saying, is the looks of the building and safety of the building. Now, for the looks of the building, interior cost, what we have assumed is much lesser than today's cost. But I am considering 1,000 rupees. Lighting and electrical will cost you 150 rupees. Paint and finishes, again 100 rupees. Good marble, it is average marble I am considering, which costs 250 rupees. And when you go for the structural cost, basically the concrete cost will in the range of 350 rupees, and average say 20-story building 5 kg, you can say my steel cost will be 250 kg. So if you see here, my looks cost is 1,500, which is definitely not underestimated, but concrete cost or structural safety cost is 600. So This we have to think. When we are going to purchase a building or a flat or anything, basically how we have to think that to whom we should buy the flat and everything. Next slide.
Now here I would like to add one thing, that what happens that many developers have kind of a feeling that a reinforcement that we provide in the building is not seen by the consumers, because it is not understood. It's a part of the structural design. The elevation that he will put up, the marble flooring he will put up, the facade he will put up is easily appreciated by a common man. So he will never tell me that, look, economize something going by cutting corners. But his insistence is always that do not spend on the things which are not seen by my consumers. That's a difficult thing because it's a very thin line. The next time people might say, I don't mind cutting corners also, because as it is, that is not going to be seen by the consumers.
And building is not going to collapse.
And building is not going to collapse, because what happens is that your 99% of the time duration of the buildings have to survive the gravity loads. That is the vertical load. And 1% time is also very high percentage when the building is going to be resisting the earthquake load, is going to be resisting the storm load. And people are willing to take chances. I'm again saying that I'm citing few minority builders in the area, but we need to be careful about them. And we need to change this psychological concept that what is not seen need not be too much worried about by the builders, and what is seen, we can spend more.
Because here again, I may be repeating something, when we go for purchasing any small area or any small utensil or something, if it is one scratch, we say we are not accepting it, give me a fresh piece. But the flat which is worth of crores of rupees, we don't see anything, what has gone into it. This is the apathy. Next is again another enemy we want to cite of a building, which is a waterproofing. What kind of waterproofing people have done? And there will be leakages, seepages, and this is because of inferior quality of concrete, then inferior quality of water proofing basically. And next is, in number of buildings I find lot of trees have grown up. I don't think so. That's a good sign. Basically, when tree goes up, their roots goes inside. It gives you a crack and allow that water and air go inside, and it will corrode the reinforcement. After corroding the reinforcement, you know the reasoning for that. We'll come to that.
You have to bear in mind that building may have a life of 70 years if maintained correctly. But the waterproofing is a component which needs maintenance, which needs redoing. And the maximum life of waterproofing at best is 10 years. All of us have to bear in mind that you will have to attend to the waterproof elements, looking to the cracks which will appear. And the waterproofing life is maximum to the extent of 10 years. And we should not really misuse the building in such a way that the waterproofing life of even 8 or 10 years is brought down to 4 or 5 years. Because seepage and leakage have been the major causes. 90% of the accidents in building start with a common symptom because that building was leaking profusely. That building had too many seepages. Even though we might look for a green cover, we don't need the green vegetations growing out of our building. Because as Mr. Watve mentioned, Bombay, we are an island city. In island city, your air contains a lot of chlorides and sulfates. When you have cracks in the building, then the chemical components enter. The relative humidity in Mumbai is always in the range of 60 to 80%. With that humidity, your sulfates and chlorides enter the building. They corrode the reinforcement. You must have seen your pipes are also corroded, rusted, common knowledge. And when it corrodes, it expands in volume. Yes. It expands in volume. And when it expands in volume, it has no space to go. So it cracks the concrete which is surrounding it, and then it creates further cracks. Further cracks means additional and faster corrosion. And it becomes a vicious circle, which eventually leads to collapse of those elements. So we need to be really taking care of seepages and leakages. The building which is leakage free, you can consider that's a healthy building. That's the first sign. If the building has a lot of seepages and leakages, that's a problem. Please pay attention to it.
Basically, we said, normally if you want to buy a flat, what is our basic thing? What is my location? It is accessible from good side. Train accessibility, road access, bus accessibility, and all other things. Third, we see reputation of the building. Yes, but also we suggest that we have to find out the reputation of a contractor who is constructing this particular building, which is more important. Also, reputation of the architect who has designed this particular building. Both architects, now in Bombay there are two architects, normally is a liaison architect and design architect, and thirdly all other consultants team. What is their track record? That we have to see, and that we have to keep it in our file. Because normally what is happening, the first 3 points we see and we buy a flat worth of crores of rupees, and what is going into is decided by all other gentlemen.
With the changing regulations, I think more and more FSI is likely to come in. And it had been coming in, as you must be reading in the papers, that some additional FSI because of the redevelopment has been issued. Some additional FSI because of some changes in the regulation has been issued. And most of the buildings undergo extension. And why most of the many buildings? Because we are involved in extending the buildings. We know that where we have put up already 20 floors, we had 3 floors, we had 4 floors. There is no harm in putting up those additional floors, but we have to ensure that while you are adding those 3 or 4 floors, it has already been designed for that. That is something you need to check. You might be living in a society where the additional extension is happening. Just make sure, just talk to the builder who is doing it. If you have another resource, check up from third party that the due care in terms of the design adequacy has been accounted for, and then only go for the extension. Otherwise, as a kind of an open-eyed citizen, you can always question a builder that, look, convince me that the additional design provision was made and the building is safe to take the additional loads. Otherwise, it can create problems. The problems may not be seen immediately. These problems occur usually with the long-term issues after 5 years or 7 years or 10 years.
This is what, we look for the international quality. We go for good plumbing fixtures, we go for good electrical fittings, we go for very high quality, some 1,000 rupees per square foot marble and home automation. But the quality of construction material, whether it was good, steel and concrete, is electrical wiring goes inside, is up to quality, good quality or not, which is going to be large there. Yes, these are the hidden things, but we have to take care of this particular thing, and you must be aware what is going inside the building, which is going to be hidden. And third is interior piping. There is, if they are using a GI pipeline, it should be C-class, or nowadays very good quality PVC pipe, or odd number of pipes are coming. These pipes, again, there is a problem, these rabbits or all these things, they are eaten, so there is a proper anti-rodent chemical has been introduced. Otherwise, it will get eaten by something. So we have to take care. So we have to find out from a builder, when you purchase this particular flat, yes, I am killing myself by giving this knowledge, but yes, we have to find out what kind of waterproofing, what is the quality of waterproofing, then what is the guarantee, how many years, 10 years, okay, after 10 years, what to do, that we have to know. Then anti-termite treatment, because we see a lot of termites in Pune. Then anti-corrosion system, the corrosion system now available, which is done in internationally also, that people can give a guarantee that for coming 25 years, there won't be any corrosion in this particular building. And you can monitor it also, whether internal seal is being corroded or not. What is the cost? Maybe cost is, say, 50 rupees or 30 rupees or 40 rupees a square foot. When we are buying a property worth 35,000 rupees a square foot, is this cost is very high? No. But a common person will not understand particularly that particular system has been already employed in this particular apartment. So basically we have to educate ourselves, and we have to ask that, I want to do this. I have swimming pool, I have garden, I have clubhouse, I have everything, but my corrosion is taken care or not of my entire building where I am going to live inside. This is more important. Next.
Yeah, the biggest issue is that problems in buildings are not necessarily on account of developers alone. It is on account of we, the people who live in those buildings. Because of our unlimited greed, that suppose I am having an apartment of 1,800 square feet, there are niches provided for the elevation purpose outside the building, there are flower beds provided. What we try to do, that we try to grab that additional 20 square feet in a given room. If there's a 2 feet projection outside, you will find in so many societies the windows are shifted to the outside elevation elements. Keep one thing in mind, that outside elevation elements are not only for the aesthetic sake, they are the protection. That's a second layer of protection for the building against the rain, against the wind, against the sun. When you are shifting your window outside, you are doing two things. You are taking off your own cover. Secondly, you are loading the structural elements which have not been designed for. Those elevation elements are only meant for the aesthetics. Suddenly what you start doing, that you start enclosing those niches and flower beds, and what you do, that you put the normal live load on that. And your building is not designed for it. And in that process, what you are doing, that you are weakening your own building by our own greed. You know, in a society, the tendency is something like of an indifference. XYZ has done it. If I point out to an authority, I will be blamed because I am being a spoilsport for him. So why create a situation where I will be blamed for complaining about somebody? So I will keep quiet. In my apartment, I am happy. I will not bother about the building. Please don't do it. We have seen buildings badly damaged by the changes which have been done by the apartment owners. And we have seen the buildings which have been constructed 22 years, 23 years before. Possibly we have suggested that building needs to be pulled down. So what are the reasons? That we change the toilet locations. We create additional plumbings. We put additional ACs. For that we puncture the concrete and take the AC vent pipes outside. Somebody as a Vastu consultant comes, will say, I'm not against Vastu. But while you are exercising your right to change your home according to Vastu, please do not disturb the existing Vastu which has been done on the structural engineering basis. We are trying to weaken our own building, so we have to guard against it.
This is Vastu. Basically, number of times we design a building for certain loads, certain live load, certain commercial load, certain thing, and if parking is there for single stack parking or double stack parking, and we put that loading and design our building. But sometimes because of Vastu, we raise the floor. Somebody come with the idea that who is the in charge of the house, he should have a 6 inches above, so people fill that entire particular thing and then do it. Then number of times, which slide has been missed, number of times we provide a gardening. Unfortunately, number of people may be from Pune. Basically, in Sakar, they were there that farming or bhajipala from
Sakar Bhajipala
terraces.
Samiti, and they used to encourage gardening on the terraces.
And the people used to grow their entire fruits and everything from the balconies. But I don't think so. That's a correct thing. We are not designing balconies for having a farming, basically. So basically a small Tulsi Vrindavan or something can take care, but I don't think so, nothing beyond it. So we have definitely designed for something, and I'm definitely there. Basically putting those particular trees or anything is not going to collapse that particular balcony today. But yes, after certain time, it will start sinking, and one day there are some incidences, the balcony get collapsed.
And there have been some casualties also, because these are unfortunate things. It's out of our ignorance we are doing these things. So we need to be careful about these things.
Another issue is very important in an old building. The way new buildings has been tempered, old buildings are tempered substantially while people are undergoing the interior work. And basically removing the old tiles and putting a new tile, it creates a problem. So it is better to have an old tile there and have another tile on tile. I know it's a good thing for construction, but it's a very bad thing because you are adding an additional load on a floor which is a 50% more than what it has been totally designed for. So basically additional load will definitely going to make your building dangerous. one flat owner can do, it is not going to collapse, but all the flat owners are going to do, yes, it is going to be there, but then you cannot say anybody that you are doing in your house, why I shouldn't be doing it. So basically this is one thing which is very important. Any changes, I am not saying changes or interior or anything should not be done. Anything you do it, but this is to be vetted and designed by, principally it is the original structural engineer who has designed that building. Number of times it is not available, it is not possible to go with him, then it has to be with some approved structural engineer from Mumbai Municipal Corporation, and mind well, then onwards, the principal consultant who has designed the old building, he seizes his responsibility, and new structural consultant who is coming into the on the board, by making a small changes also, he is taking the responsibility of the entire building. Because any change by removing a column, cutting the beams or anything, it is not going to hamper his flat. Basically, we are having an apartment or a housing society. So it is a total structure what we are designing, and tampering one column or tampering one beam will have a definite impact on the entire structure. So it is, you are not tampering your flat, you are tampering the entire building. We have to keep it in mind.
So maintenance is the key. People ask me that, look, I'm not technical. It's good that you are an engineer. You must be taking care of your own apartment or house. But like all of us are not doctors either, but we are extremely aware of our health. We keep on reading about our own health. As we take care of our own body, as we take care of our health, we go and seek advice from various doctors. We keep on reading from the internet. Similarly, that even though 90% people are not going to be technical, they can always take care of the apartments or the homes they live in by soliciting information from the known people surrounding them, and maintenance is the biggest key. If you divide that maintenance, that we design the buildings and we hand it over to you, first 10 years we call that as a kind of period of vigilance, because what you have is a new building in your hand. You be vigilant that no changes are being made, the building is properly maintained. So first 10 years I will call as vigilant period. 10 to 30 years, yes, you definitely start needing maintenance. And the life of the building thereafter will entirely depend upon how meticulous and how particular you had been in the first 30 years. It is 0 to 10 years and 10 to 30 years. The buildings which you see today in excellent conditions have obviously been maintained very well in the first 30 years.
Basically, the another issue what we are going to do is maintenance of your STP. Now corporation has made it compulsory that we should have a sewage treatment plant, but hardly only when we sit for high-rise committee meeting or anything, we are saying that out of 100 STPs has been installed, only 2 or 3 STPs are in working condition. Everything is throwing everything in the municipal sewage. That shouldn't be the case. That is going to benefit to you. Then waterproofing, we have gone to that. It is a limited life. Electrical system also, they have limited life. So we have to maintain it, means first inspection has to be done, and then whatever problems are there, we have to maintain it or change it, or everything is there. Then fire system also, we have to maintain it. Some fire drills has to be there, and if need be, we can change this. This is very important thing what we want to elaborate or discuss is basically when we buy a flat, when we buy a nano car, which is worth 2 lakh rupees or something like that, equivalent to its size, they give a big manual how to use it and what has gone inside it, what is my part, what is my everything. But unfortunately, when you buy a flat of worth crores of rupees, you don't get the manual, and nobody is going to tell you how you are going to use this flat or use the amenities what you are getting, what the facilities you are getting. So what is important is when you are buying a flat, you should ask that approved architectural drawing has to be given to you. An individual owner also, maybe society is having it, but individual owner also, it doesn't cost you that much. Again, structural plans along with design brief. Design brief means what is the load we have considered, what is the parking load we have considered. And anywhere I have considered, or structural engineer consider landscape load. If that is not there, I should not be having a landscape. If there is any attached terraces are there, and if I have considered the lawn to be there, I can put the lawn. If it is not considered, I shouldn't put the lawn. If water body is there, I can put the water body or swimming pool. If I have not considered, you will be not putting the water body or swimming pool or something like that. And further to that, there are electrical, concrete or everything. We should have a material testing record from builder. Time to time we test the concrete, we test the reinforcement, we test everything. That record has to be a part of a documentation which comes to you when you buy a flat.
Yeah, as a matter of fact, it would be most ideal that when you go to your electrical shafts, if the electrical layouts are kind of fixed over there, because you might have a problem, electrical problem, where the entire power goes off and your normal electrician is not available. You bring in some other electrical engineers and he doesn't know what is the circuit. So then people start searching, and then he does something like shooting in the dark. Ideally, an apartment should have the complete plumbing layout, complete electrical layout, pasted, preserved in a given building, so that in case of any emergency, that data should be available. And I think as an aware citizen, we can always take care of these things, that this is an apartment where I'm living in. If I have a problem, I have a document which I can refer to and then do the rectification. So I will not be shooting in the dark. So as I said, I had mentioned that we need to take care of our health. It's like, you check your heart rate, you check your blood pressure, you check your cholesterol, you check your bone density. Similarly, check your waterproofing, check the condition of the concrete surfaces, check the condition that there's no vegetation growing up, check that there are no cracks appearing, check that nobody has impinged upon the safety by overloading something, check that nobody has done the modification which will damage the structure. And it's all in our hands. As a matter of fact, there's no point in blaming somebody else when we are not using the premises correctly ourselves.
This is another technology now it is adopted internationally. Normally it is called as health monitoring. That building's health can be monitored by sensors. What it helps? That it can say that what is the inclination that building is going to come, what is the shear wave consumption, then base shear computation. This is too little bit technical, but yes, we can monitor the health. What is the corrosion going inside the building? Leakages also we can find out with the sensors. Building management system is already in place in number of buildings which are under construction. So in that particular building management system room, we can integrate this everything and see that how my building is behaving for vertical load, for horizontal load, and we can get that printout every 6 months. Like our report of pathological laboratory, we can get this kind of thing, and it is not going to cost much. Bombay, yes, it is easily possible because our costs are very high. So this doesn't cost you much. Your property worth crores of rupees, this will not cost something.
So this is something futuristic method by which you can check what we had been talking all about. You can have a detailed technical checkup on the building, and it's worth having for that. Yes, and we would welcome your questions, because I'm more interested in getting your questions.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Watve. Thank you, Mr. Joshi, for a wonderful presentation.